Hey guys, so I've got three of my medic parents from my baby medics family, which I think is officially the largest parents and medics family at Imperial. Um, so one by one, can you all introduce yourself? So your name, what you're studying, and where are you calling from right now? Calling in from right now.
So I'm Haider. I'm second year medicine, and I'm currently calling in from London.
Hi, I'm Varja. I'm also second year medic. I'm calling in from Slovenia, which is in Southern Europe.
I love that you have to qualify that.
I do have to qualify because people are like, where is that?
I'm Ryan, also a second year medic. I'm in London too.
Sure. I've just got to start by outing Haidar and Varja because they both prepared themselves for this. So Haidar doesn't normally have his room so beautiful and everything, but he's done it for you guys on the Zoom call, and same with Varja. So A plus there, guys. Okay. So first question. So how's Christmas break and New Year's been for you guys so far?
Christmas break has been mostly just watching Netflix for me. I had a bit of a study hype after our placement ended, which lasted about 3 days, and I think I learned a fair amount those 3 days, none of which was on the syllabus. And then I struggled to try and get through the same two neuro lectures for the next week. But now things are picking up. I finished about 3 K dramas, like from beginning to end, about 4 seasons of House, and about 4 neuro lectures.
Yo, wait, which K dramas? Extraordinary You.
Oh, recommend something.
Yeah, Startup, which you said you're gonna watch,
Startup.
really good. I watched Extraordinary You. Not my favorite, just because I don't like the way it ended.
It ends weirdly for me too.
Yeah, the premise was really
it starts
good.
with such a cool premise of like self-awareness and stuff,
Yeah.
but then it trails off.
Yeah, I was like, the premise was really cool, but it didn't finish. I don't think they did enough with the premise, in my opinion. It became a bit too much of just a high school romance, which I didn't sign up for. I watched Startup. I can't remember if I started that before. No, I started that before, but I finished it during the holidays. And I watched I'm Not a Robot, which is a really
that one. That's a favorite.
really
I like that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite one. Yeah, and House MD, really good for pretend revision. But yeah, that's how it's been so far. Obviously with COVID stuff getting very drastically worse in very little amount of time in the UK hasn't been great. It's basically like March last year again, where every announcement is slightly more depressing than the last. But there's a vaccine, so maybe there's hope. But yeah, Vari, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, Christmas and the whole holidays actually have mostly been isolating for me, so that wasn't great. But actually, I agree with what Haiders said. I did get quite a lot of motivation from like doing the placement in a hospital. I was in West Middlesex, which is amazing, and everyone was really nice. So I kind of picked up and like had some motivation to do extra work after that, which was really nice because like I felt like the last term was really difficult motivation wise because we were all stuck inside. I'm sure everyone can relate to that. But yeah, I managed to like do different things. I'm writing up a research paper with the Society of Research and Academia at Imperial. Really great society. You guys should join if you're interested in academia. And also, I started kind of trying out different productivity things. So I just realized that I spend loads of time on my phone. So I'm just turning it off and actually getting work done. Definitely recommending that. So yeah, I've been looking at some neuro, some endocrinology, and watching Avatar: The Legend of Korra.
My sister's actually been binging that too.
It's really good. Yeah, you should watch it. It's like Avatar, but with romance. Like, really good.
It's Avatar, but a bit more rogue. I really liked it. Also on the whole turning your phone off thing, since Varya started doing that, I've started doing it a bit more. I've put those deactivation timers on all of the apps I use constantly, and like kind of try and leave my phone somewhere I can't reach it. And that is the only reason I've gotten through 4 lectures in the last 2 days.
Have you guys heard of Forest?
That's literally what I use for like
Yeah.
8 hours. My goal is to like have my forest like 3 on for 8 hours a day. So like just not using my phone for 8
Yeah.
hours a day. It's been great. It's also been the reason why I almost missed this meeting because I didn't like check my messages. So sorry, Krish. We love you. But yeah.
For reference,
Yeah,
by the way,
forest is
Forest is
great.
this like, yeah, it's this little app that you like say like 30 minutes or like 40 minutes or up to like 2 hours or something. And it's just a timer. And the longer it goes, the more like trees you grow. But when it's on, you can't use your phone at all.
Or you kill
I
the
mean,
tree, you actually have a
yeah,
deck there. So it's a
it's
very
really
cool
nice.
like
And in the pro version, you can actually use your coins to like the coins that you gain by like blocking your phone for a certain amount of time to actually plant real trees. So I just feel
Super
so
cool.
good, like saving the planet, saving my grades. It's all there. Yeah. What about you, Ryan? What did you do?
I don't know. I feel like I am like at heart a pure like entertainment degenerate. Like you hear like people say that like they do a job just to live, and like medicine is really really cool. But like on the other hand, my ideal day is just like 15 hours of The Witcher, and then I go to bed, and that's it. So I had the same experience where the hospital placement was like so awesome, and it like pushed me for like study just random videos. I binged osmosis videos on like cases I'd seen for like 3 days straight. And then like a week after the hospital placement finished, I went back home for Christmas. And then I kind of just decided that I wouldn't do any work at home and I just completely relaxed. I just went into like pure degeneracy. I played like Witcher nonstop. Cyberpunk like came out. I played that nonstop. On the like side, I had like my like iPad just playing like random like documentaries, but not like nature documentaries, like like YouTube drama documentaries. Like, oh my god, they're so good. So I did that, and then I came back to London like on the 5th or the 4th or the 5th. And then as soon as I came back, I've been like more productive since. Like I'm still chilling, but I've done like one lecture a day, and I've been doing like about 250 flashcards a day on Anki. Most of those have been anatomy, so they're like 5 seconds per card kind of things. So it's not more than like half an hour a day.
So
But yeah.
impressive. Just like put any number next to Anki, that makes it impressive.
I found this like flashcard deck that was like, it was from a step one like deck in America, and it's like every single like muscle that we need to know, every single like bone like insertion point, origin, everything like that, every artery, nerve, vessel. It's like huge, and I've just been like binging it nonstop because I finally understand like forearm muscles now. I don't even need to know it, but I was like, it's so intoxicating to understand it for once that I couldn't stop.
I struggle with using flashcards, to be honest. Although I have started reading Grey's Anatomy from cover to cover. I actually find it quite helpful. I think because I can get into the zone of reading quite easily, and books, especially. Hey, you don't realize when you think of medicine textbooks, you think this is going to be impossible to get through, but they're designed to teach you, and so they repeat content again and again, and they structure it really well. So that's my way of learning. I've sat down and started reading Grey's Anatomy and this ECG book that one of the doctors on my mentor from my placement actually recommended about ECGs. Those are productive things I did as well. I'm not just binging K-dramas.
Oh, I forgot that. I've seen, Jesus Christ, you have no idea how many K-dramas. I can't count them because I've like rewatched multiple, but it's at least 10 and maybe 20. I'm not sure. It's just a blur, honestly.
I feel like we'll need to like have a link in description section and like link all of the stuff we're talking about.
I'm not
so
even
that,
joking.
like,
At this point, I like watch so many simultaneously that on my Notion, I've just got like a list of ones that I'm watching at the same time.
ooh,
Oh my god.
organized.
Imagine organizing your shows like that. I can't even organize my studying like that.
Still organizing our lectures.
Right. Okay, so it sounds like you guys have all had a bit of a fun over Christmas and you've chilled out a little bit. So one thing I wanted to ask, like the first thing I wanted to talk about was, I know like a lot of first years feel like if they haven't done enough work or they've kind of self-determined that they haven't done enough work over Christmas, and they look back over like prom and stuff and they feel like they've forgotten a lot of it, or it seems like it's new again. So Haider, if you start. So you were saying like repeatability and how important that is to help get kind of content stuck in. So can you all talk a little bit to that? So
Yeah. So for me at Christmas last year, I think my main aim was to try and make sure that there was nothing I hadn't at least seen once. Because something that's changed between the course that we study now at Imperial and the older Imperial medicine course. They recently redid it all for people who aren't Imperial students, based on feedback from the past, like however many years, to try and like modernize the course. And one thing they did is get rid of the January mocks in year 1 and year 2. And what that means is uh, you actually get to have a break over Christmas. And I would say it's really important to take that opportunity to have a break, because um, then it's basically a sprint from when you get back to uni until your exams. And this is the only portion of time you'll really get off for quite a while. And so I'd say, especially in year 1, take it and relax. And I would say keep small, doable aims. I wouldn't try and understand all of POM during the Christmas holidays. You won't be able to, most likely. Um, Obviously, if you like sit down and shut yourself in a room, you might, but not good for your mental health at all. I would say just try and make sure there's nothing you haven't seen, because everyone's probably had like one day off, or had to go to an appointment, or just had a bad day, had a lie-in, and missed 1 or 2 learning of opportunity. Well, I don't know what they're called anymore. They were called
Learning events.
I don't know what they're called now. LOL,
Learn, lol, goal,
It's lol.
live online, lol and goal.
Yeah. So you probably missed 1 or 2 things. Try and get those done, I'd say, over Christmas. And I'd say the biggest thing is don't stress yourself or beat yourself up. I didn't even manage to get the stuff I wanted to get done last year done, and that was about 3 lectures in total. And I still managed to do really well on POM, thankfully. But I would say Christmas in year 1 is just the time to chill. And I'm guessing this video is going to go out after the Christmas holidays are over. So I'd say my big message to first years would be forgive yourself. It's not that deep if you didn't get much done over Christmas in year 1. As long as you've chilled a bit and taken a bit of a breather, like that's still really, really great for your mindset going into term 2. And you can learn from all of the mistakes you may have made over Christmas and trying to study. Perhaps you were distracted by your phone, like Varya said. Like try using things like Forest, try get off your phone. If you're like me and your sleep schedule's a bit mad, try and work on those things. But the big thing is not to stress out if you feel like you wasted your Christmas break, because there's like no way to really waste it. And yeah, the thing you said about repeatability, I think I'll get onto that after, because I wouldn't worry about repeatability over Christmas. That's more something I focused on in term 2. But yeah, Varya, what's up?
Yeah, I think my main advice for like all first years, also based on like the messages I've been getting from people, kind of quite a lot of people like texted me on WhatsApp or sent me an email saying I'm still kind of struggling to find my best study technique, or like I kind of feel like stuff's not getting in, or I feel like I'm doing the work but it's going so slowly. And like, first of all, like, I mean, my main advice for first years is just don't worry. No matter how like banal that might sound, I think it's helpful to hear it from someone. A lot of people have been sending me the same thing. So if you're kind of feeling stressed or like you're stuck in place, it's just not something that just you're struggling with, basically. So just don't worry. That's my first advice. I agree with what Haiders said about the Christmas break in year 1. It's really not that pertinent that you're kind of like on top of everything like at the end of term 1. And the reason why is because as you go through year 1, you get like progressively better at studying as well. So you get like progressively faster at getting through content. So it's like, if you feel like you're slow now, that's fine, because you're now reaching the point, at least from my experience, kind of in term 2 was when I reached a point where I kind of realized what I was doing and felt like a bit more on top of things. And you will have a long break before exams, when you can kind of employ your new fast skills and like get over stuff. So really just don't worry. And even if you like missed like 20 goals, I know some people in my year that didn't look at any of POM in term 1 because we had freshers and we had parties, and still passed and still did well on their exams. So it's like, you'll be fine. You will be fine, no matter how stressful it sounds. And like, yeah, that's really what I wanted to say. do reach out to older years. Everyone's really happy to help because it gives us a reason to avoid our own work and like tell you about stuff we already know, which is always easy. Um, yeah, I can see Ryan laughing. So yeah, but yeah, it's nothing to worry about. I hope you enjoyed your Christmas. If you did loads of work, good for you. You might be able to chillax over the Easter holidays a bit more, I guess. But apart from that, no difference.
Yeah, I mean, I second what the other two said. I think I showed you earlier. I'll share it again actually because I think it's useful seeing it from like a second year. Again, it's like different for me because the way I study is like I don't know. I've got something mentally wrong with me where I like maybe it's commitment issues. Who knows? Where it's like I can't finish a lecture without knowing I fully understand everything in it. So I will like not finish a lecture until I fully get it, and that will take me multiple hours if necessary. But even now, and it's the same case for year one. Year one, I was a week and like a third into POM, with there being like 3 to 4 weeks total. By the end of term one, I was like disgustingly behind. I don't think I did any of like immuno or like I can't remember how many learning events there were. If there were like 40, I did about 12 to 15. Even now for year two, like neuro for BRS, I've done less than half. Endo, much less than half. Psych, barely any, and cardio rest about half. Like, it is completely fine to be like fairly behind after term one for a year one. Easter, like by the time you get to Easter, people like are a lot better at studying. I barely like did any work over Christmas, and I was fine in my end of year exams because like you get a fairly like long time during Easter, and a lot of like term two will help wrap things up for you. Stuff in BRS will like help make things in POM clearer, and the other way around too. So yeah, Christmas is really really chill, and like no one should feel any guilt over not doing any work at all.
Yeah, I'd say one other thing I want to touch on. This is more specific to the current first years. Something advice I got in first year was, especially for first term, but I think this will be more relevant to you guys as time goes on, is try not to. The actual advice was never sacrifice a social opportunity to go and study. As in, if you have the choice between going to dinner with your friends or sitting in at home and reviewing lectures, unless you have an exam like a CSI the following day, honestly, take that time to spend time with people. I would say that's especially important for you guys, as I imagine in second term you'll probably, hopefully, second or third term see some lightening in the COVID restrictions.
I hope this ages well.
Yeah, I really cut it out if it doesn't. But with the way vaccination is going, there should hopefully be some easing, either like late second term, early third term, first term, and second year. But I would say definitely try and maintain the social side of it as well, because a really big thing for, I would say, your first year, but more your first term where you can actually go out and meet people whenever that falls in your med school experience, is building connections with people, because that's what's going to get you through. Like, I know that, like, there have been times where I know if I hadn't been able to, like, call Varja and just, like, talk through the crap that's going down during first year and the panics we're going through during Easter, honestly wouldn't have done as well. Probably wouldn't have made it out, like, in, like, as good mental shape. The kind, like, the people you have to talk to and get advice from and share resources with, that's the big thing that helps you through med school. And unfortunately with COVID, it's been really hard for you guys to make those connections. But as soon as you can, obviously with the exception of imminent exams, try and allocate a fair amount of time to that, and don't feel guilty about it. It's a big part of the uni experience, it's a big part of med school experience, it's a big part of life, making social connections. And I would say it's really important, especially in a long course like medicine, where like there is only a niche group of people who will know exactly what you're going through and the pressures you feel, and like, you know, the imposter syndrome and the pressure to perform, because like medicine's different to other jobs, and not knowing your content can actually have bad consequences in your job. So, and you can feel all these kinds of pressures. So try and make those social connections. What I'm trying to say, you might want to cut that down. I really rambled. I made my point in the first 10 seconds.
Okay. Right. So I guess the vibe that you're going with is like, if you've not done too much over Christmas, be a bit compassionate with yourself. Don't take it like too strict, and yeah, just try and do a bit more this term. So one thing based on like Hader, what you were just saying, so and you've all been kind of alluding to this a little bit, is obviously we're going to have stricter lockdown now going into second term, and I'm guessing some students are probably worried about like their mental health because maybe it's been hard already in first term and it's getting even more stricter. Some people are going to be flying in and they're worried about like they might not be able to be here. So like, do you have anything? Does anyone have anything to kind of give some advice in regards to how to deal with that? Maybe how to study, how to keep mentally well as well.
I would say, so I think we're going in the same order, so I'll talk again. Sorry. Um, so I would say the big thing is reach out if you need it. Especially because you're physically isolated, it can be very easy to just completely isolate yourself from people. Reach out, message people, talk to people. It might seem a bit cheesy, but try and get things going like you guys did so well in third term for us last year. Well, I guess what would have been your summer holiday, your extended summer holiday. Like do quizzes, do Netflix parties, like watch things together on Disney Plus. Take a little while to just video call each other and have a chat and stay in touch with people, because it really does help. And you don't want to stay isolated because that can really, like, it can really build up. I remember in the first lockdown, my sleep cycle kind of shifted to nighttime because that's when I worked better, and it was Easter, so I had to do a lot of work. But that also meant that if I wanted to take a break in the middle of my lectures, it was 4:30 in the morning and no one was awake, and that meant there was no one I could really talk to. And then you kind of, it kind of gets you not talking to anyone after a while. So make sure you are talking to people, and if you haven't heard from someone in a while and you know them, reach out to them. That's one really good thing about having medic families, is just message them from time to time. My medic family in year one was like 25 people, and honestly we don't really talk much anymore. But one thing I made a point to do during, I think it was the Christmas holidays, was I individually messaged all 19 kids in the medic family, just with like a really brief like, hey, how are you, did you watch the end of Bake Off in the end? I remember we were talking about it last year. It's been ages, how are you? Like, I barely talked to that person, but I remember that we talked about Bake Off the few times we did talk, and just bring that up and just show like, hey, I remember you, you're doing okay, and try and do that. So those are two really important things. Reach out if you need it, and if you notice other people haven't really been active much, reach out to them, check in on them. They might be fine, hopefully they will be, but you never know who's just kind of feeling like they can't, and it would really, really benefit from you reaching out. And then in terms of motivation to work, it's hard. I would say it's the more extreme sport version of keeping yourself motivated during normal med school, in that I think, yeah, it's safe to say it's less exciting. I remember being in person in lectures on the campus at Imperial College, like, oh my god, like med school, you have that bit of buzz to keep you going, to keep you, in tutorials, discussing things, you see people. When you're on your own in your room, it can be a little less exciting to learn about the vestibular system. So I would say, remind yourself why you're there. Remember why you love med school, and remember that the exciting part is going to come, like, eventually for you guys. You will have that buzz of being on campus. You guys will have that buzz of seeing people in a lecture or a tutorial room and like learning things and discussing things in a really interesting and like immersive way. But in the meantime, you guys have to stick with that motivation that got you here in the first place. Sounds cheesy, but look at your personal statement. Amongst all of the inflated, slightly like dubiously true statements about things that you've done, are probably some very, very genuine motivations, right? Like at least one sentence of it has to be true. And focus on that. Why did you want to study medicine? And what about it excites you? And kind of remember that and try and help that keep you going. And the other thing is discipline. Unfortunately, it's just write up plans, try and get an idea of what you expect to get out of yourself every day. And I would say it's completely reasonable for it to just be today's goals and lols. That is all I want to get out of today. That's fine. If it's at least just attend the live one and make sure that I understood it, that's fine. If it's make sure I pass the CSI at the end of the week, that's fine. Just set yourself reasonable goals that keep you vaguely up to date with the work at a comfortable pace, and try and get those done. For me, I have a what I'm going to do every day list. Yeah. So that looks like this. Well, it's a bit blank, but is in each day of the week and what I'm going to do. So today is finish the vestibular system lecture, which I have 15 minutes left of, and go over abdo-anatomy. My aim is to get through one of them, not even all of them, before I go to sleep, ambitiously too. And it's kind of like having that kind of idea of what you want to get out of your day, and try and stick to it, and try and set up little rewards for yourself. If that's like, you know, if I get this many things done, I'll have an ice cream. This many things, and I'll watch this movie. And the last thing with discipline is don't go too far to that end either. Don't structure yourself to like, just headaches and like stress and like anxiety. Don't like, pressurize yourself to the mad where I'm like, I have to get 7 lectures done, and you're up at 2:30 a.m. You've been up for 18 hours and you've not talked to anyone. You've basically been like eating junk food to keep yourself going and drunk like 5 cups of caffeine. That's not healthy. Yes, you may, get high marks, but you're gonna burn out. I would say discipline, but also schedule in fun stuff as well. Especially if you're in term time, not in holiday time, where you have to attend the first 5 hours of the day or whatever, and then you're going to try and do revision, make sure you also, like on my to-do list during term time, I'll write down which TV show I'm going to watch that evening as well, so that I've scheduled in the work, and I've also scheduled in, remember that you need to chill kind of thing. I said a lot. Feel free to cut whichever parts were good.
No, it's all going to be in there, but yeah.
No, it's gonna be such a long video.
You're just gonna have to tame yourself, Haiders. You have so much smart stuff to say.
Oh no, it's just see what happens when you're isolated for weeks on end with no one.
Finally, you have the opportunity to talk.
Have a captive audience that don't currently hear, but they're gonna be.
They can't give you bored stares. It's fine. Everyone can just skip through. Skip through if you don't like what we're saying.
Times 2 speed it like I'm a panopto lecturer.
There were some really good tips in there, so I thought that was useful actually.
Cool. Varja, your turn.
Yeah. Do you guys want to add?
Yeah, I do want to add something. Wow, that's stressful. I can't handle with all the do this, don't do that, be disciplined, don't be too disciplined, because it doesn't. So I'm just gonna do my practical tips from Varja. This is my lore from lockdown 1, 2, 3. I had extra lockdowns in Slovenia, so that counts. I also had extra non-lockdowns in Slovenia, which was really nice, but irrelevant. My points would be, point 1, make use of outside. Like the worst thing for me about like isolation and lockdown, especially those of you that are like flying back and have to isolate, etc., is like sitting in the same spot for the whole day, especially if your like uni flat is kind of small, you have that one desk where you spend your whole day. So I just found, for me, it's really helpful to kind of rotate around the spots in my flat a bit. So like one day maybe I'll study in my room, then I'll study in the kitchen, then I'll study on the floor, then I'll study on my bed, even though that's not recommended. But like just move around. And like right now with the current government guidelines, you are allowed to go outside for exercise. And like I know you've heard it a million times, but I can't recommend it enough. And I like, exercise might seem kind of daunting. Just go for a walk. Like go for the walk, listen to the news, or listen to a podcast about medicine if you want to feel like you're being productive. But like just go outside. And then the third big thing for me is like, I feel some days in like lockdown, you just have goals, you have plans, you have everything sorted out, and you want to go to your lectures, but then something happens, or you like sleep in, or just like the whole day kind of falls apart. And what I find is really helpful for me is just like at the end of every day, or like whenever you feel comfortable during the day, sit down and kind of reflect on what went well and what didn't go well that day. I found like a lot of things that I kind of making me work more slowly, or like not being able to work, repeat the same day, so it's like always the same mistakes. And like once I actually start thinking about them, like either every time I finish a lecture I go on my phone for like half an hour, it's really not helpful. Just like writing those kind of stuff down, and like being like actively mindful of them can really help you like make a big leap really quickly. I don't know if that makes sense, but hopefully it does. But yeah, that's from me. And don't be worried if you're not, if you feel like you're not doing well, because I feel like that's a recurring worry. It's just you feel like you're not up to your goals or whatever. It's fine. You will catch up. And maybe ask a friend to like schedule a study sesh with you, if that's helpful. Haider in my DMs. Can we do neuro together? Me. No, I don't like studying with people. Haider, I'm sorry.
Don't put that in.
Put that in. Put
Let's
that
say
in.
it now.
Also, what lecture are you going through? I can help. I finished my neuro. I know my neuro now.
Well, no, that's it. I'm finishing off vestibular today, and then I'm moving on to abdo. And actually, I think that's it actually, because I went through all of the optics things in one day, which I think I've realized Broughton is the problem. I can't listen to his voice.
Oh, get a volume booster. That's what I've been doing.
No, without falling asleep. He just makes me.
Oh, right. Well, even on double speed.
On double speed, I can't pick up the information because I don't like to go back and listen again.
Okay, this is kind of this might be a stupid tip, but there is like a Nightcorer Chrome extension, and for all the lecturers that are kind of boring, I just make them speak. I just make them speak in Nightcore voice. It's really helpful.
Could you send me the link?
That's
Because
genius.
genuinely,
Right.
there have been times when it's like the voice of the lecturer is the problem, because I've listened to like audio and vestibular and optics like straight through, no problem. Osmosis.
I love Ryan's shocked face.
Ryan's just like correct them. Oh, that's brilliant.
I've added it already.
I'm just saying, like, this kind of dumb tips, like, yeah, add Nightcore to lecturers. And what else is there? I bet I have other stuff like that I do.
Right.
Look at Haider's dumb mnemonic notes. I love those.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Goth colas and stuff.
Colas was honestly, I'm still impressed. Like, I don't know what year one me was eating, but he was on some genius flow when he came up with goth colas.
Ryan falling off the chair as every time he's laughing. Anyway, we sidetracked. Sorry.
What was the original question?
I feel it's worth mentioning that I'm really different to like Varja and Haider. Like both of them are very like extreme extroverts. I am a very, very like extreme introvert. For me, it's been the complete opposite. Like lockdown for me, I haven't noticed a difference. If anything, like things are more chill now. Like I can sit in my chair for like 10 hours straight. Like I'll just turn on a K-drama and I'll just like go to sleep like that. So I'm like good for all. What I would say is I agree with the exercise thing. Even like I set like a schedule, not like a strict one, but like every hour I have to go like leave my chair and do like 10 squats, 10 push-ups, without fail, because blood clots are bad for you.
Is this medical advice?
I love how all of us are like, he's gonna get a DVT. Like 10 hours in that chair, he's gonna get a DVT.
Yeah, exactly. And then in terms of work, again, like the way I study is really different to most people, where like I am permanently behind on the course so that I can like spend 3 hours on a topic and make sure I fully understand it. But I think one benefit of that you can like just use generally in terms of how you study is that I like am comfortable with like things I like work on. So like I will watch something and then I'll watch osmosis videos and then like a Khan Academy video just out of interest, or just like go as far as I need to. And even during Christmas, that's the same way I approach things. Like I'll do one lecture a day, and I'll take like however long I want to take on it. But more out of interest than anything, not like I want to get something done just for the like sake of getting it done. Like enjoy the things you're like studying genuinely, because at least in my experience, like it really helps you remember stuff. I guess for year one stuff, some of it, for me, year two has been infinitely easier than year one because I really struggle learning abstract concepts without something to apply it to. So for year 2, like we've had clinical cases for everything because our questions are more clinically focused. So that for me has been like really, really easy. For year 1, something I found useful was just looking up cases, like just hypothyroidism case, and then finding like clinical examples. And the way that I'd remember like cases is just imagine like what would happen to a normal person, if that makes sense. I heard like a story a while ago that like this really successful video game company has a huge poster of just this completely normal 20-year-old girl. And anytime they make a decision, they just point at the poster and are like, do you think that they'd like that option or like this decision to be made? And I think it's like a really similar thing where it's like in terms of anytime you look at a disease or anything, just to think about it in a normal person and like what would it look like, rather than like, I think there's a danger of some people like heading into medicine being like, oh my God, it's this cool degree where you can like see it changing people. And you get that from placements, but you go from lectures and you're like, oh, this is just facts I need to learn, put it into a flashcard, I'll memorize it later. So like, don't forget to textualize it and like remember that you're doing like something really, really interesting and really cool that affects like real people, and you'll be able to see it at some point too during hospital placements. So
yeah, I agree. I think that's like one of my top study tips is like every time I see a new condition, I try like either visualizing or drawing the person that would have that, because I feel like it's very easy to say like Cushing's list, and it's much easier to remember if you actually like try to visualize it a bit. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
I think also a really great thing about medicine is it's an like keep in mind most med schools, like most unis, sorry, medicine is one of, if not the biggest course in terms of numbers of people, which means there are so many resources, so many examples online. For example, you can find a YouTube video, like straight up just on YouTube, a video of someone doing a full neuro exam. You can also find a video of them doing a full neuro exam on a Parkinson's patient, and you can see all of the things that you have to look for. You could also see it on like a dementia patient. You could see them do a full cardio exam on someone with a heart problem and on a normal person. And all of these things can really help. And I would say like reading around, I think a good thing about like, yeah, I'd say reading around is something really good to do with medicine specifically, and also I think with uni generally, because you're going into that field later on. Like it's not just like you'll pass your exams every year, you'll get your degree, and then like, oh, it's calm, I have my degree now. It's like 90+% of people will then go to practice medicine, and that's when having read around will really have helped. Like if you can like not just list what happens in Cushing's, but like recognize it in a person, that'll make all the difference. Or if you have like ideas of what you're looking for, what usually presents, what doesn't, you can tell me here are 5 possible symptoms, or you could tell me here is a really normal way that someone's Cushing's might present with this symptom, this symptom, this symptom. They may just present with this thing. This could be Cushing's, or it doesn't quite seem like it. Those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
I think because like the problem with reading around, what I find is already we have so much material objectively in medicine. It's a lot. People struggle to get through the slides. So like in my opinion, it's not as much reading around. Obviously, if that's something you enjoy doing and you do it in your free time, that's fine. But at the same time, the new Imperial course, I feel it's very, I mean, obviously we'll see once we actually become doctors, but I feel like it's very well suited to already introduce you to like the key stuff. So if you're like struggling to get through the content, I think don't worry about reading the extra stuff, except if it's like, oh, enkephalin shows up in your POM slide and you don't know what it is. Obviously look up a definition. In terms of reading around, my main tip would just be like rather than actually trying to actively find more articles and stuff, or like reading around other conditions, because you will have loads of time to do that in like clinical years, I think. What I do is just I put like Cushing's quiz and then just put quiz next to anything and you will come up with like random flashcard decks and random question banks, and then just do those because it will give you all the extra information and like kind of help you reframe things. But I wouldn't worry about reading too much.
I think for me, 'cause I really pride myself on the fact that I'm like very good at looking things up like very quickly and efficiently. I think for me, like I look things up all the time, but I don't look them up to like get more info. I look them up for context, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
no,
like,
I think that's good.
Anatomy, for example, I'm hoping that your abdomen will be better than ours was last year, but our abdomen was just text. Like it's just 4 straight pages of text and nothing else. So for me, like being able to look up like specific diagrams of parts of like of abdomen and finding different perspectives and stuff, that's essential for me to understand like abdomen last year. If I hadn't done the extra reading is the wrong way to put it, because I feel like extra reading implies that you're looking for more info than what's already provided. When I like do research, I'm never looking to learn more than what's on the slides already. I'm just looking for some kind of context. So either some kind of patient case where I can visualize it. Visualization comes up a lot, actually. I realized that like most of like the way I study is through visualization. I think Varja said that earlier too. But just like getting used to finding resources that help explain things, if that makes sense, rather than looking for new info to learn. That's misleading. It's not exactly how you're like what I think we mean. It's more that the internet just has tons of different like explanations. Sometimes one explanation will make sense way more than another, and it'll be like one different word, and I don't understand at all why. But like you'll read like a few explanations of something, and one of them will suddenly like just make things click.
Yeah, I'd say one thing that's really good for that is Wikipedia. I totally agree with these. I think I explained what I was saying badly. But yeah, I think definitely looking online for different ways to learn stuff. So I'm very big on learning from osmosis. Actually, I think this is probably a good time to show you what I was showing you before we started recording. One thing I found on osmosis, which is really helpful for kind of sewing different things together, is their clinical reasoning videos, which are essentially they take a specific condition and take you through the symptoms, how to diagnose it, what tests you might do, what investigations you might do, and then how you complications and how you might treat it. And it kind of, for example, yesterday I was watching the videos on diabetes, and it tells you very briefly what is type 1, what is type 2, very brief pathophysiology. You'd probably want to look into that more depth on your slides, but that's there, and that takes you through how do you diagnose it. So what tests do you do for type 1, what kind of results would you get, what tests do you do for type 2, what kind of results would you get. Quick recap, what are the tests? Okay, what are the like symptoms, how might someone present? Cool, how do you treat it, what are the alternative treatments, when were those indicated, and then what are the complications. So talk a bit about diabetic foot, a bit about this, a bit about that. And what it's done there, it's taken what for us on our curriculum would have been type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, microvascular complications, macrovascular complications,
tutorial.
the tutorial and the pharmacology of diabetes lectures, and reminded me of everything in each of those quite briefly in 25 minutes. And that's something Osmosis is really good for, because they're not a live lecture, because they're very heavily scripted and planned. They're good at condensing necessary information. And those kind of things I think really, really help. And I love going through those because they kind of, I find that the more you repeat something, the more you expose yourself to certain information, the more normal it becomes in your head. So the same way that like, you know, I could like explain to you how to prepare like a sponge cake, because I make sponge cakes a lot, and it's a fairly like I don't have to sit there and think about, okay, what are the steps, what are the ingredients, what are the measurements, what am I thinking of. It's I can just outright tell you, here is your ratio of butter to flour to sugar to eggs, here is how long you bake for, here is what you do, and you just literally go through it like that. And that's because I've done it again and again, and it's become a very normal thing to me. And that would be the same with your medical stuff. I'd say like try and find different interesting ways to go over it again and again. Something that I really found is helpful, because I get bored quite easily with studying, is if you've read about something and you're getting tired of reading about it, but you need to get more work done. This is more of a like Easter, like fast paced, you need to get a lot of content done. If you're bored of reading, switch to videos. And find other ways to go through it. If you're bored of just passively taking stuff in, you feel like you've learned as much as you possibly can that day, then do flashcards, do quizzes, and practice like applying that information. If you're done with that, try explaining it to someone else. A lot of people, especially like in medicine, where everyone I'm sure could do with another explanation, love having you explain it to them as well. And it can like, or explain it to your parents, explain it to someone who doesn't study medicine, and see if they get what you're talking about. I explained it to my cat, he doesn't even speak English, but just like saying it out loud, so vary it, mix it up. But yeah.
My parents are so done with me explaining random endocrinology, I swear.
Oh my god, yeah. My mom's like, uh-huh, uh-huh. She's looking at her phone, just like, uh-huh, yeah.
Your parents are still alright. Like they listen. Like my dad just doesn't even like. He doesn't even feign interest. It's like he's just watching TV. So yeah. Okay, what I'll do is I'll quickly sum because you guys had some really good points in there. So coming like briefly back to the mental health and lockdown thing. So I guess the main points you guys said were like definitely reach out to friends, especially if you're not at halls or you're living at home. So keep in touch with like your friends and don't be afraid to reach out to people that you don't necessarily know that well. What Varya was saying as well, like for mental health, like changing like where you're working and stuff and going for walks, which I concur with because I do that and it's really great. And what Rayyan was saying, like don't be afraid to also, like if you're fine with lockdown and stuff and you're at home, then enjoy that. But also, yeah, reading around. And one thing I thought that was really interesting was you all seem like you have different ways about going about your work, and you all turned out fine. So like don't be like if you're because I'm one of those people like when you see what other people are doing you kind of feel like I'm not doing enough, or you see other people doing all these different things, but if something's working for you just stick with it.
What I will say is that basically everyone will feel like they're not doing enough, apart from like the top 1% who shall not be named. Most people will feel like they're completely behind and things aren't going well. And then things will kind of come together over Easter. And like, even for me, it didn't come together until like the last few days before exams. Our exams were like delayed for about a week. And I kid you not, they were like the 7 most important days in like that entire year for me. But if by like that point over Easter, you feel like you're getting really close to exams and you still have no idea what's going on, there are a ton of resources that are designed specifically just for like cram revision, like just like the sum ups. Muslim Medics has like tons of really, really good PowerPoints. They don't release videos, but the PowerPoints are amazing. MedEd will be doing some kind of like BRS thing for you guys, and that's useful. I think RAG is doing a tutorial scheme as well. There are like second years who'll be doing tutorials. Generally, you can ask people for help that they'll give you like quick sum ups. But like, it's worth knowing that if at all you feel like you need to get a ton of work done really quickly, there are like really useful like resources for getting that done.
And I think a really important thing as well is the majority of people in med school like end up going to the exams not having looked at every single thing. It's like from like I mean for me personally, I feel really stressed out if I haven't had a look at everything. But I know that a lot of people like missed a few learning events and didn't even look at them before exams. It's like it's not the same as an A level where you needed to like nail every single learning objective to do well. Like you can not know some things because it's a spiral curriculum, which on one hand does mean that like you will need this stuff for the next year. But on the other hand, it means you will have more opportunities to learn something. So if you don't manage, it's also fine.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important thing.
I'd say on different learning styles, you will notice that me, Var, and Ron actually do have 3 very different learning styles.
That's true.
I don't know how well that came across in that we obviously offer similar advice. I think all of us have been exposed to this very similar advice over the year, which it's always good to share a range of stuff. But from what I know of how Rayyan studies and how Varja studies specifically personally, they are very different to how I study. And very different how other people study. And I think like 2 important things come from that. One, well, number one, medics are snakes. First of all, not everyone is studying as much as they claim they are. Don't let that stress you out. I think that's the like one thing to be mindful of if you're looking around and seeing, oh my god, everyone seems so on it. A lot of people are putting on a show. Obviously, there are some very lovely people in med school, but I think it's part of that whole. You don't want to seem like you're the one person who's behind.
Or at the very least, the people who are putting on a show are also the most vocal people, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like there are 300, 400 of you. The people who seem to be on it, or who may be on it, are also just the minority who post on your group chat still, or who like to talk about it, who like to post their notes because they're so on it. They're not representative of everyone. But secondly, also, it's all about finding your own way to do things, and like it's just like it's life at this point, like like
survival.
everyone has a different way of doing things. And you'll figure it out and you'll change it up, and there can be a good side to looking around. Like people doing work and you feeling a bit lazy, it might remind you that you need to get some work done. I know personally, like, hearing what Varya gets up to sometimes reminds me that I need to, like, get a lecture done today. You know, and that can be a good thing. But I also know that sometimes if, like, other people are like, you know, oh, I'm like making all these flashcard decks and I'm like, I'm watching a K-drama, I'm also like, I know it's fine, they work how they work, I work how I work. And that's okay, and just like don't let that get to you. At the end of the day, like Varya touched on, the exams aren't designed for you to get 100%, neither is the course. Like after med school, most of you, like, you're going to ditch a fair proportion of the information you learned during med school once you start picking specialties. Like, you know, people will be like, like the consultants we met on our placement, they do know very like generally about a lot of different areas, but they won't know specifics. It's likely you know things by the end of second year that a consultant hematologist wouldn't know about, like niche facts about endocrinology or something, because they haven't had to use that information very often at all. If they remember it, it's just because they remember it and not because it's useful to them to know, because their job's specialized. And that just is medicine. At med school, you're taught a really large range of things, but you don't need to remember it all. That's why the pass marks are, like, you know, fairly low compared to like your A-level A stars, which were like 75% pass marks, generally range between 50 and 60% for every exam. And that's because you're not expected to know all of it.
If anything, I would probably advise that it's just a waste of time learning some stuff. Like the way I study is like I told you, I try and spend 3 hours to cover everything. But even in doing that, I'm fully aware that a good 20% of that time is utterly wasted, and within a week I don't remember it, and that's completely fine. Because like sometimes your time is just better spent on more important things. Like there are some really niche things in year one content and year two content and every year that like they might ask a question on and like might be useful, but like what's that line from like Scrubs? Horses not zebras.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Think horses, not zebras.
yeah. Focused on the important stuff. Like there is a lot of the course that you could learn is just an utter like waste of your time. It's annoying in that the slides don't always make it that like obvious. But again, that's something you'll like get used to and like get to grips with as time goes on. So it's not something you should stress about now.
It's something that was interesting that even the teachers said at the beginning of year one, which was like, you're not going to get 100%. And only a small, like mathematically, a very small minority of you are going to get distinction stars. So don't stress out too much. You're not meant to remember every single thing. You're meant to try and learn. You're meant to engage with the material. And if you engage with it, if you learn, if you do a good amount of revision, you like attend your lectures or tutorials, or you do your lectures and tutorials, and you actually discuss things and get involved, you should pass.
And this is less like a tip and more just a personal opinion. If you want to go for distinction stars and like awards and everything, so be it. You do you, but they don't affect anything. So don't feel like stressed that you need to. It is Jesus Christ, the number of people in our year who like were so stressed about getting awards for like fourth year BSc choices and like foundation placements. It was ridiculously high for so long of the year until like slowly people realized that they don't count for anything. I'm pretty sure it's only like a small like 3 letters in your transcript that no one will ever ask for. Like,
yeah,
it's a personal achievement and nothing else.
Yeah, if you want to go for it, go for it. But like, don't pressure yourself. Also, because, and the other thing is like mathematically, minority of you will get distinctions and awards or whatever. But because of the way the pass mark works, unlike A levels, where only like X% can get an A star, literally everyone can pass first time. And it's designed so that the pass mark doesn't. So this is a bit of a math thing. You might not want to include it, but the pass mark is fixed regardless of how the students do in the exam. So it's not relative to your performance. It's relative to how experts judge the exam. You can look up the what is the system? The EBEL system, EBEL. It's like an actual mathematical thing where each question is ranked on its relevance, its difficult and its difficulty relative to if the average student should know it. And then the pass mark is calculated mathematically off that information to give you what the borderline student should know. So if you're the borderline student, you're going to pass. Don't stress. Have fun. Yeah.
That's really okay. So I guess sorry, Varya, did you want to say something?
No, go ahead. I think we've said so many things to this question.
I was literally going to say that you guys put like loads of good study tips in there, and the thing I got from all of that was that like don't be if you want to go for distinction, that's great, but also like try and enjoy what you're learning, and don't feel like you have to learn every single little detail, because some of it probably won't come back up after exams. So yeah, so do the core stuff and don't worry too much. Okay, so those like dealt with like so many good questions I had about studying. You guys all covered it there, so I feel like anyone that's watching up till there will have loads of insight in how to go about studying in lockdown. So the next thing I wanted to ask, so this one is,
I think I mentioned earlier that I'm like really introverted, and if I was allowed to, I would genuinely just stay at home and like cook. Even now, I'm eating the same thing every day, without any like change, just because it's easiest. I spend all day sitting at my desk and like just watching K-dramas, watching Netflix, playing games, and then doing work because I force myself to. So like genuinely the reason I got involved in societies was very different from most people, which is just that I knew if I didn't, I would just be doing nothing all day. Uh, so let me try and remember what I'm involved in. I'm secretary for the SU, which is like basically just like quite a bit of admin. It's been a lot more work this year than it probably should have been because COVID and everything. But I mean, I would very much recommend anyone like to go for the SU. SU's cool. Is what I would say if we had a retreat, but we don't. So oh well.
Not work without the retreat.
Work with a retreat. I'm in like I'm meded and like MM's tech leads. But again, those are like quite minor. That's kind of just like updating their websites. I did that more just to like see what it's like being part of a normal committee. Which I think I was hearing something said by, there was an SU coffee morning a while ago. There might be some more, I don't know, over Easter, who knows, where like the Prez was saying that a lot of people will like head to fifth year and they'll kind of regret they didn't get involved in stuff, which is kind of like the attitude I took. This sounds like a blasphemous thing for me to say. I'm not massively excited about anything I'm doing right now. Like there are people who are like super passionate about what they're doing and they're like, oh my God, I'm like going to run the awesomest events. I'm going to make the coolest things. I'm not. I'm just like, I'll do a cool job because it's fun and interesting. And then beyond that, whatever. But like, at least now I can say like, I've got involved in quite a lot of cool stuff, I think. So at least for that, I would recommend getting involved in society. So at least you can look back and be like, I spent my time really cool. I met some awesome people. Like committees are full of really, really cool people. I think just by nature of the fact that to get involved in committee, you have to be like at least somewhat outgoing and like organizing stuff. Committees kind of like band together some of the most interesting people in the med school. So it's an awesome way to meet people. Yeah, I totally recommend joining societies if you can.
Yeah, I would say societies, more so once you're back in real life, are like a huge part of med school, which is uni generally. Like
they've been a bit underwhelming this time because of COVID.
Yeah, like right now I'm part of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Wait, are you on the committee for all these different societies?
No.
Okay.
He's on the committee for like 5 things.
Wow.
No, I'm on 4 or 5 committees. I'm on committee for PACSOC, but that's been quite inactive again because of like COVID and lockdown. Usually they run a lot of really big like social events. I'm on exec committee for MM. Again, another position which has been under like died down because of
Social sec, yeah.
Yeah, social set. Usually you run the annual dinner, which is like a goodbye dinner for the 6 years. It's usually like at a fancy venue, suits, all of that. I was on Charity Week as well. Another thing which was ruined by COVID. Charity Week again is like 3 weeks of like loads and loads of big charity fundraiser events. And I'm the sole member of the committee for the Assassin's Guild.
I forgot about that. I was like,
Yeah. I couldn't tell you what we do with Assassin's Guild.
At the end of every year, there are like summer elections you can get involved in, and like that's where most of the committees get like whatever. Haider signed up for like this one IC committee that's just called Assassin's Guild, and no one signed up for any other role. And so he's just the weapons master of this one random. Does that mean you get like CSP money? You get like grant, do you?
We don't like. I don't even know what being the only committee member allows me to do. I don't have access to email address. I don't have access to.
So funny.
I don't. There are like 150 members, but none of them. How many? I have 167 members in my committee. They can contact assassins@imperial.ac.uk. But I can't reply because I don't have access.
That's actually hilarious.
Is membership £2? That means that I have
Like
300,
You have a lot of pounds.
but I don't know what that means. Anyway, yeah.
I think the end takeaway is that genuinely it is not hard at all to sign up for tons of stuff. So like go do it.
Yeah, let's look at this. See, so I'm that person that like gets like signs up for a bunch of stuff and then only goes every once in a while when I feel like it. So that's why can I share? Look, my society list looks like this. It's disgusting. It's very full. Anyway, yeah, I'm also in the SU. I'm the academic officer for early years, which hopefully most of first years will know at this point, because otherwise I did a bad job.
Honestly, you could drop that name and this like video would get like hundreds of views probably.
Hey, is someone else joining?
And it's Haider too.
It's Haider, yeah.
Hello, Haider. And yeah, it's been fun. I'm that person that Rayyan was talking about. Like, I'm meant to run the mock clinical practical exam for year twos, which will hopefully go ahead despite COVID. But yeah, I'm super excited if it does, because I just want everyone to get practice. But yeah, and also I'm taking care of all the first years and second years, which is also my favorite job in the world, because I love you guys. And I'm not just saying this, it's just great. I miss SU retreat though. I'm also sad that we don't have it. Big tears. I'm also on the committee for Society of Research and Academia, which I am secretary for this year, which is also great. Sora is a great academic society. You just learn how to do research, which is really cool, because you will have to do research in fourth year anyway. So yeah, I do recommend everyone to get involved. I like academic societies, but I do collab with Medit. I mean, because as the academic officer, I'm actually like working with academic societies. So I do quite a lot of stuff with them. But yeah, I'm only like, I did a talk for them earlier this year, and I'm tutoring on the Meded VRS series, which you guys should come to, because it's going to be super useful. And I can say this because I saw the work they're doing. I mean, I'm just doing my tutorial, but yeah, it's really good. And the rank tutorials as well. And my other two faith societies, I have to mention FEM, the Free Hospital Emergency Medicine, is a great society. Yeah. Like, if you're interested in like emergency medicine, ER, anything, it's just like the best talk. And we have like everyone on the committee is really nice, and it's been a bit this year because we can't actually do stuff, but before we were actually able to go on ambulances and do things, so it's really cool. And neurosoc. In terms of fun stuff, I did jiu-jitsu last year, which was kind of random for me because I did dance for many years before that, and I was like, have to learn something new at uni, right? So yeah, jiu-jitsu again got ripped by COVID, so I'm waiting for them to resume stuff. In the meantime, I joined DJ Society this year, and I'm being really cool DJing at the union now and stuff. And skate sock, where there is actually random medics that I didn't know were in skate socks, so we just skate. And Imperial Queer IQ and South Lab, and I don't know. There's a lot. I love societies. They're the best.
Varja is truly preparing to make her own lo-fi like music video.
What do you mean?
Just like DJ vibes, just people skating in the background.
Oh my god. Yes, that's a great idea. I'm writing that down.
Yeah, sorry, my laptop died, but I'm back now.
Thank you.
I should mention, like, you should totally get involved in, like, I guess for first years it's been kind of difficult, but when stuff eases up, I think third term, I feel like things will ease up by then, maybe enough vaccinations, I'm not sure. But like get involved in like just stuff you haven't done before. I did rifle shooting in my old high school, but so I tried that here and I eventually dropped it because I don't have time for it. But I tried archery as well. Archery was cool. I think that's how I met Hader.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are like tons of weird like societies that Imperial has that you can just try out. Like there's no commitment or anything. Just like flip between random ones and see what's cool.
Yeah, that's sorry, I'll let you speak. I just thought that's like the thing, because I say, oh, all of these societies, like you don't actually have to go to every event. You don't have to go to any events. Like sometimes you just see there is a gap in your schedule and like there's something interesting in their email, and like you can just pop up and then leave. And my advice is sign up for a bunch of things, and then you will drop things you don't have time for, you don't find that interesting naturally. It's much easier to like drop out than like get involved. So, just sign up to for everything that's interesting. And
Yeah, I'd say definitely. In terms of like societies, I would recommend. So I'm like very like joined a hell of a lot of things. Like last year, I think I attended events with Iraqi sock, Arab sock, Pak sock, all of those like cultural socks. Different times. I went to like one Arab sock event. We played games. We ate like Kit Kats. We played Jenga, and it was like kind of wild. It was like a charity thing. Went to another event where we did like a fancy dinner at a Hilton hotel. I met Rayyan at archery. I got involved in pediatric society, and that is kind of my like plug society, like where Varjas like pre-hospital emergency medicine, which is actually one I tried to sign up for this year, but COVID. So I'm gonna do it again next year in the hopes that I get something cool out of it. But in terms of like, because Imperial has like 400 societies, talk to all these and find out what cool stuff is out there, because I would like pre-hospital emergency medicine is probably one that excites me the most. But obviously you don't hear about it because there are just so many. But PEDSOC, hidden gem. You go into hospitals 2 hours every fortnight and you just play games with the kids in the waiting room or the A&E or the wards. And it's just such a nice way to chill. Like, who plays Jenga with you these days other than a kid who's stuck in the A&E waiting room? And they love it. Like, and you get 2 hours, a cupboard of toys, and you can pretty much do whatever you want. I have done like origami with the kids, taught them how to make little like flapping birds. We've played Jenga, and those like, it's kind of embarrassing when you lose at Jenga to a 9-year-old who is also ill. And it's like, that's a bit of an L. But they have Connect Four, they have all those different games. You can do drawing, you blow bubbles for the babies. Everyone loves bubbles, and you just like, it's just so cool. You just get to like make people happy and cheer them up, and the parents get a bit of a breather because they've rushed their kid into like A&E and they're stressed out. But you can kind of like, their kid will come away for a while, the parents kind of like check their phone, take their calls. And it's just a really fun society. You get little t-shirts, you make your own little name tags. And it's just a really, really nice feel-good society, really great fun. You're in a group of around 5-ish people, so you don't need to like worry about like, feeling alone or feeling awkward. And it's really cool. Other socks that I really enjoyed, I would say like MM was great. Muslim medics, they do loads of tutorials which are really, really good. Like, they were probably one of my biggest revision things because like I mentioned before, repeating information is the best way to remember it, and their tutorials lag behind the curriculum by about 2 to 3 weeks in terms of when they're scheduled, which means like without doing any of my own revision, I get that spaced repetition enforced because I just attend a tutorial where they're reteaching it to me, and that's why like that's really great. But they also run really great socials and mock exams, which you can get involved in as mock patients. I find that really cool. They run the annual dinner, like I said, at the Hilton Hotel. You get to dress up and like, I got to bake for it as well. So you see all your stuff like laid out in really cool stands, and it's really fun like that. Other big ones, PACSOC, they run Sham every year. Sham is like you dress up in traditional Asian clothes, South Asian, so like saris, your sherwanis, that kind of stuff. You eat some like really cool food, and they have like put on shows. Last year they had Ali Official, who's like a comedian TikToker.
I remember that. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, really funny guy. Quite big on TikTok actually. I found that he has a lot more followers than I thought he would. But no, he popped up. And they have loads of cool guests over talk. So I know that they have Ibsmo. They had Ibsmo a couple of weeks ago.
Oh my god, like million.
Oh, the Cambridge,
right? He went from Cambridge to Oxford now, or Oxford to Cambridge. He's done both.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really cool. You get loads of cool Q&As. They're just a really balanced group as well. Like, we did like a watch a Bollywood film together, raise a bit of money for charity. They got like donuts and snacks, and everyone sat in a giant lecture theatre, and we just watched Bollywood movies. And it's really fun. Like, I think they're really good for socializing and chilling as well as the academic side. But they are a great way to meet people. Like there are 400 societies, and that means that you'll meet people who have similar interests, and you can feel a bit alone at uni, obviously, because there's just so many people, and you're like, 400 medics. How do you make friends? Societies are the way to go, and it's just and also do crazy new things. Like there's a rock climbing society, there's a caving society where you literally go and travel up to the Lake District and climb through caves. There's like, I joined archery because I wanted to try something new. I met Rayyan. I think eventually hit the target once or twice. I got loads of really bad bruises on my arm from the string hit it, and it was great. But yeah, societies are a brilliant thing to be part of, and being part of committees is also really, really fun. You gain skills, obviously, but the main part is, I think, it's really nice to be involved and kind of see what you can achieve. Like, when you crank out that event and everyone's like, oh my god, that event was brilliant, like I loved it, and you're like, I was part of that. Like I made some videos for this year's charity week, and it was just brilliant to be part of it when they're like, at the end, I think we raised like £39,000 for our charities of choice. And we make our little videos, and the committee does all the praise. Like they were brilliant, and you get your little that big total going to charity. You have the wonderful events. You have everyone feeling really good. The community, everyone having great memories together of like the different things we did, and that is what really sticks with you. And yeah, I don't know if anyone's quoted this yet, but one thing that I think one of the professors said at the very beginning of uni is if you leave med school with just the degree, you've done it wrong. The thing you take away is those societies, is those memories, is those friendships. And so like aim to leave here with more than just MBBS and your BSc, and like I can tell you all about hypothyroidism. Be able to tell me about that like mad night out you had with your friends, like that time that like
mad night watching a movie with your flat and holes.
Yeah, but basically, like
speaking of which, you should definitely do movie nights with your flat and holes. If you're not, like, DM me your whole senior's name and I'll have a chat with it. I'm just kidding. But you should still do stuff even if it's lockdown, even if it's hard. If you can't organize it, make someone else organize it for you. Like the nice thing about Imperial, because we're talking about how join committees and stuff, I feel like it can be quite overwhelming to do all of these things, so like feel like you need to get involved so much. And the nice thing at Imperial is because we have so many societies and projects, there's like almost 100% already a person that's a volunteer to take on a role to do something for you. So like if you're looking for if you're like, oh, calls are really dull this year, you can like talk to your whole senior and they have to organize something for you. You can talk to a society and they can organize a tutorial for you. Like basically everything you need, there's already a volunteer that's probably going to be really happy to do the thing for you because that's why they volunteered. So I think it's not just about like you becoming active, which is obviously really, really good. But if you don't have the capacity at the moment, like it's also about making use of the like kind of people that are there, that are kind of willing to spend their time for you, and just like not being afraid to like look up which society is doing what, and just taking advantage of everything that's there.
Okay, I'll summarize. So that was actually really, I really like the fact that you guys didn't like approach it from it's great to join a committee and it being like a checkbox thing. You all spoke about like the societies you actually really enjoyed, and I feel like you all rounded up really well. That like Haider, what you said, like when you leave Imperial, it's totally about the friendships you make and stuff, and that was really nice.
I think it's worth saying, by the way, like I think when I talked about it, I kind of came across like that I kind of joined stuff just to join them, which is partly true. But the things I also joined because I think there were nice ways to like leave things that like stay there beyond my role, if that makes sense. So like, let's say with the student union, like I made them a brand new website, and knowing them, that website will probably be there for the next 10 years.
Thank you, Raya.
No worries. Same thing goes for MedEd. I made MedEd a new website, which is like funny. I'm not sure because they haven't told me yet, but I might be making like the fashion show website where it's like Depop but ICSM, which is a cool idea in all fairness. But like it's also a similar thing where it's like Imperial gives you tons of opportunities to leave a mark, if that makes sense, and leave like an impact. And at least for me, I feel like it's kind of a waste not to take them.
Okay, so only like a couple of more things only two more things, and this will be really quick. So one was like, I'm guessing like students that are living out in halls and stuff might be worried about like accommodation next year.
I'm a hall senior at Camp Porter. So like that's one of the options. There's more options. Like if you live out of halls, if you live in halls now and you want to move out, there's always like options to find flats and stuff. The first thing to say is there's like a lot of people that will support you and help you out finding flats and stuff. I think it's now is kind of the time when people start worrying about it and it's actually too early. Like the reason why you're not getting any information as a year one in January is because in London, it's really easy to book flats and places and you don't need to worry about it that much in advance. I think like most people kind of start putting out their resources in March-ish, but like you can basically go through the whole process of booking a flat in like a few months or less. Like the process is really short. So the most important thing I would say about getting a flat is don't worry about it. It's easy. Like obviously if you go early and you want a really good deal or a really good space, like there's time to do that, but like most importantly don't worry about who you'll live with or like how you'll find a place, because it's kind of a thing where medics tend to be really stressed and like have to work it all out far in advance, but it's one of the things where things just kind of end up working out. Like you will be fine. Did I lag? I didn't.
That's okay.
You'll be fine. Basically you will get a flat if you want. You can stay in halls. It's great. As a whole senior, I can say I love my flat. I love my organizing events and stuff. Obviously COVID, not going to go into that again, but that's another option. And then you can also like stay in halls not as a hall senior or like go into private halls. There's like a lot of options, but I guess Ryan can tell you a bit more because he like got a flat, and then Haider can tell you a bit more because he lives out and he can tell you about that.
Yeah, so I live like in Fulham. So I live about at least for us, we were told our like year two would mainly be at Charing Cross. I live about 15-minute walk away from Charing Cross. Like, you know, how much you've had some stuff like anatomy sessions there, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that didn't happen. We've had like a lot more SK this year because of like timetabling, moving people around, but whatever.
Next year. Oh no, it's clinical. Right.
So I heard most people started looking at like May, June-ish. I wasn't planning to live with anyone, so I didn't like have to coordinate anything. So I actually started looking in mid-August, and I got my place like secured by end of, I guess, first week of September. And then I kind of moved in halfway through October for like the term starting at end of October. And it was fine for me. It wasn't that difficult. I think the most like time consuming thing was just documents, just like getting those ready. But that was more me not reading my emails until like a week after they came. So for like a normal person who's like at least somewhat organized, it's really not that like difficult a process. What is worth saying is that like it's kind of like a two-sided situation where some really good flats show up early, like in May or June, and other good flats show up in like October. It's really weird. So you'll like some people will get like early flats, and that's all good for them, but they'll pay like 4 or 5 months, which is a bit. I don't know if I'd like have done that. And then for like later in the year, it's riskier. But there was just one flat that I was like 1.5 times the space of my flat now, and I wouldn't have gone for it because I like the flat I have. But like I'm surprised that something like that went on like so quickly. But like general like idea being like I understand people stressing about stuff going like away early and oh my god you'll lose all the good flats if you don't get ready by February. It's complete BS. There are good flats that go out all the time, like no matter what happens. Like don't worry about it at all.
Yeah, and especially if you're in halls now, we'll be doing stuff to help you find flats and move. If you're like living at home and you want to move out, you can also come along to those, and there will also be like other like you will get emailed a lot about it basically as time goes on. But
Also, something
really,
worth saying is that there are like I didn't get much advice on it because I did like it's not too complex a process. But like some of the most important pieces of advice I got, there are some agents you should not go near. Like Foxtons is like the biggest one I've heard of. Do not touch them with a mile-long stick. Like,
this
I've
is
heard
not the SU official position.
This is not. No, it's not. But like, I've heard horror stories of just like horrible agents.
Right.
I heard my like landlord is in Hong Kong right now, which means she's very hands off. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, yes, they don't care what happens at all. I'm free. Um, but yeah, again, you can ask like second years, like close to the time, who to avoid because you'll hear stories of like horrible agents and horrible places to go for. But yeah.
Like, I think everyone that lives at home kind of feels like they're the only person living at home. It's really not the case.
Yeah. There are a lot of people who commute. One thing we were lucky to have last year, which hopefully they'll keep up and you guys can attend as second years as well, as some people did, which is the commuter social. It happens usually the day before or the day of the whole intro social as well, which is the weekend before uni starts. So it's kind of like a pre-freshers event. And that's really good for meeting the other people who commute. And you can also perhaps find people who live in your local area. I was surprised to find like 4 or 5 people who live quite close to me. And so I see them on the tube on the way into uni. It's really great. I'd say like, if you live in London, definitely living at home is something you should consider. Because at the end of the day, your commute in probably won't be as bad as you think. Like a lot of people lived in Kent Porter, they lived in Woodward, and they had a similar commute to the commute I have, which is around an hour. And it is a good opportunity to just kind of like chill, relax, maybe take a bit of reading you were meant to have done yesterday. But it's a good time to allocate for that kind of reading, or just to have some time to yourself, or some time with people who live in the same area as you, the same flat as you. Because it's kind of like time we can't really be doing anything else. And a lot of people really found that was helpful, having that kind of protected half an hour before and after uni, where they're just kind of with people and they can kind of not stress about what else could they be doing with their time that's productive, rather than just sitting and trying to talk to people. But now they're living at home, obviously you have like the convenience of like knowing where you are, not having to worry too much about like documents, unless your parents are like really strict. Then hopefully we shouldn't have to worry about like tax documents and all of that stuff. Some people have their meals cooked for them, all of that. I think for me it's just, I mean, I'm not allowed to live out. I don't know if they should be in the video, cut that part. I don't want my parents to be getting on my back like that. But yeah, I think I haven't felt the impacts as much because it's like COVID year and we're not really leaving anyway. So a lot of people I know have kind of like just stayed at home wherever home is, because you commute a lot less. But I think when you are commuting in, again, like consider it, because you'll save a lot of money. And at the end of the day, like, it doesn't take away from your experience a huge amount. If you want to hang out with your friends, you can still hang out with your friends, if you live like at your home. But again, like, there's not a huge amount of advice to give. Just, it's okay to, I guess, if you want to. And a lot of people do live at home.
Yeah,
And
lots of people do. I think it comes down to whether you like commutes or not. Ryan hates commute. He doesn't like it. I love commute. So like I live in Camp Porter and I have to commute for like an hour every morning, but it's what Haiders said. I just really enjoy my like 1 hour on the tube when you can't talk to anyone because the noise on the tube. We love Central Line, and you can't be on your phone because there's no Wi-Fi on the Central Line. So it's just like, yes, I will have an hour off and I will walk through Hyde Park and my day's gonna be great. Not necessarily true, especially if it's raining, but like it comes down to like whether you like it or not. And I think that's a big advice for me personally for people getting flats as well, because a lot of people I think feel pressure to get a flat really near like Hammersmith or wherever your campus is, and obviously it's kind of convenient to be really close, But on the other hand, if you like staying away and you find a really good flat and like you think that's an okay choice for you, don't be afraid of going for it, even though everyone's like, oh yeah, I live across the street from Charing Cross or whatever. It's not like necessarily the most important criterion.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad I asked that actually, because I know that some students I do get like worried around this time about like moving out and stuff. So yeah, I'm glad that you cleared up, like, don't worry too much right now and let it happen when it happens. And also what Rayyan said as well about asking second years which ones to avoid in terms of agents and stuff. And yeah, I'm just going to add with Haiders, I'm really glad that you said that as well, because I live at home and I enjoy my commute as well. So yeah, if anyone...
Mind you, it's worth me mentioning that I have like motion sickness. So when my first commute started, I was like, okay, I've got like a cool hour to be productive. And then I tried to do Anki flashcards. But when I look down, I like can't look at where like my surroundings. So I start feeling sick. And something about that pissed me off so much because it was like a control thing. Like an hour of my time cannot be spent the way I want it to. And now like that's very personal.
I mean, for me personally, like when I commute, there's days where I will do some work, but other days I'll just sit and like relax or read a book or something, or even just sit, the full hour and not do anything.
No, yeah, granted. At some point, I kind of just got used to like putting on some K-pop and just chilling for like 50 minutes. And in all fairness, commutes again, like as introverted as I am, I have to make an effort to like reach out to people because I forget. Commutes were like probably the most time I spent socializing with people. Just because it's really organic. Like you'll go back and then like you'll get onto a train and then someone will like just be there sitting and you'll be like, yo, what's up? And that will just happen all the time because there's so many like medical students and other people. So yeah.
They don't know. They're not going.
Oh no, I forgot. Right.
So this is like a thing, right? If you live in halls, like a bunch of medics will have the same commute as you usually, but obviously now that doesn't happen. But you know that they actually have group chats, like by like the small group that like they have teaching together and then they commute together as well. It's really wholesome. Like I joined some of them just to spy on the wholesomeness as a whole senior. It's really nice. But yeah, they don't know. Usually it would be like a group of 30 Woodward medics just like taking the central line together every morning and like you just chat with everyone. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Maybe next year.
Nothing to keep in mind is like, as has been really, really bluntly demonstrated by the universe this last year, you really can't predict what's going to happen. So I wouldn't stress about like your accommodation for next year while we're barely into this year. Because like, you know, in term 1 last year, I don't think any of us saw term 3 playing out the way it did, you know, online, in bed, on 2 times speed. Like, it was weird. But I would say, like, don't stress about it until you have to. Kind of, like, deal with what you have right now, enjoy it, and kind of, like, let that happen when it happens.
Yeah, I think before, like, med school, a lot of people that come to med school, I mean, this is my personal experience, but I, like, from speaking to other people, I know some people had the same thing happen to them, so I don't know if anyone relates. But like before med school, I think a lot of us kind of were the like super organized, kind of really control-y, I have to be on top of my stuff, like type of people. And like then a lot of people have this kind of a little bit of an identity crisis in med school, realizing that you can't always like be on top of everyone of everything, and like med school really is kind of like a tumble. And like at least for me, I learned over the past year to be just a bit more chill and like kind of just let things happen and just go with it. And I think that was like my most valuable year one skill, surprisingly. I don't know like if Ryan or Haider had the same thing.
I mean, I learned the same thing during like I played about 5 hours of Minecraft before most of my IB exams instead of revising. That's a skill I learned in IB, and by far it's been like one of the most useful for me. Like I think the fact that I don't like stress at all about much has really helped me, more than I like expected it to. Like maybe like a while ago, I probably would have been stressed by the fact that I'm like roughly a month behind like the entire year. But it's like, you know, you get to a point where you start like realizing everything, it's all chill. It turns out okay.
You're gonna be fine. It's like, don't worry. It's gonna be fine.
I love
Like,
how
I
this
know I
romantic
keep
view.
saying this, but like the most important thing is just chill out. Like,
I think
you'll
it's
be
also
alright.
worth saying, at least for me, like in high school, I used to be a lot more competitive. Like I remember someone being like the end of like lower sixth, so what's that, year 12 exam for like biology. They were like, he was really good at getting on our nerves and stuff like that. The head of biology was like, whoever gets the top of year like score will put it in their personal statement. And I was like, oh my God, I have to do that. What if I don't get that? Then it won't be on my personal statement and I won't get into university. And I was like that kind of person. And then like gradually over year 13, I like stopped giving any shits whatsoever. Camera's off.
You lagged in the most
Yeah,
savage
I know.
position
Yeah.
possible.
Anyway, I stopped giving any shits whatsoever. And at least now, like I've lost a lot of my competitive drive, if that makes sense. Like I don't care about awards. I don't care about distinctions. I don't care about like name. I could apply for stuff that like would seem cool and I don't care anymore. And I like, to some people it's weird, to some people that would be really really horrible for them. I think that drives a lot some people to like really study hard, but at least for me it's simultaneously been like the most like useful part of the way that I like study medicine right now. I just take my time, I enjoy it as much as I can. I get the most out of it, and like whenever something's interesting I just pursue it rather than going about it like a machine, which I would know because I used to treat like things like a machine. I used to treat exams like a machine, and I don't anymore. And I genuinely think I'm like 10 times better off for it.
Interesting.
Am I meant to share some profound lesson I learned?
Yeah, I was gonna say, hey, it's your turn.
Did you have any
Don't give it
profound lessons?
You got this. There wasn't even a question for this one. I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now.
The one most important thing that you feel like you've learned, maybe about yourself over the last year or two.
Over the last year or two. If you want to do a thing, just do the thing.
Yeah.
Good advice. I agree.
I think that applies to when you're working. If I'm trying to psych myself up to do a lecture, I'm like, I'm gonna get like right mindset, you know, like when am I gonna fit it in? When am I gonna? If I just sit down, open my laptop, wherever I am, if I sit down, open my phone, open up the thing on Panopto, put my headphones on, and sit down and watch it, I will then watch that lecture, right? But it's the kind of like, oh, how am I gonna get it done the best way? Just do it and you'll do it. And I think that's the same about a lot of different things. Like, you want to get involved in research. I don't know, that's a bit of a weird random niche one, but like
Join Sora.
yeah, but then like join the relevant societies and do the thing. You want to start a YouTube channel? Download a video editor, put together some footage, stick it on the internet and see what happens. And it's just like kind of like just get involved in whatever. I think you get out what you put in essentially. Like you want to do something. Med school and just this portion of your life is just, you have so much being handed to you, you just need to kind of take it. This is weirdly like I need violins in the background kind of thing, but genuinely you have so much being offered to you. Like, approach everything like that and you can get as much as you want out of it. You want to learn language, download Duolingo and actually listen to the birds' little reminders every morning, and surprisingly you'll slowly but surely pick up vocab. You like open Spotify and look for like learn Korean with Daniel podcast. I don't know, his name probably wasn't Daniel, but he was really good at teaching me Korean. You know, you want to get involved in something cool during your placement.
Oh, I remember that one.
I walked
Yeah.
up to some. It is cool.
It is, yeah.
Hey, you know, during my placement, I saw this really like energetic guy, like nurse walked past, and he was like, "Hold the door!" Da da da. I opened the door for him, and I was like, "I wonder what he gets up to." So I walked up and I was like, "Hey, what do you do?" "I'm a medical student." He was like, "Come with me." That's 3 hours of my placement. We went across the hospital.
Oh, it's such a Haider thing to do.
And I got to help him with what he was doing. So he inserted central line, and I got to witness a whole procedure, like the blue sheets put over the iodine. He was showing us on the ECG how you can tell where the end of the wire he'd threaded had reached in the heart. He was like, you look for this kind of wave, and that tells you you've reached the like atrium.
That's
And I'm like,
so good.
what's going on? He's like, hey, squeeze this thing of saline. So I claim I assisted on that central line. But, you know, it was a whole thing. And that wouldn't have happened had I not been like, hey, hi, medical student here. What do you do? Literally, we literally half ran across the hospital, and I got to watch a bunch of like invasive procedures and really cool things. And he was like so like willing to just talk and tell. Like he did not stop talking. Actually, he told her I learned so much about his life that I didn't need to know, but it was great. Like
reminds me of that one time Haiders and I on placement just like talked to our consultant and ended up watching the weirdest lumbar puncture ever. Even though that was our first lumbar puncture, but it was still weird. But yeah, I agree. I think it's really a lot about just walking up to people and doing random stuff. This really like I like, you know what I do before exams? I like look up motivational videos on YouTube and they like yell at you like, just focus, you've done so much work, yada yada yada. Like Haiders sounds a bit like the like that motivational video, just do it, you know. But anyway, I agree, you have to just do stuff. I will watch this back when I'm like feeling low on motivation. I will put you on double speed, Haiders, between my
yeah, no, but 100%. I think, and also I just want to emphasize that really, that's a really simple way to say a lot of things. So in placement, take every opportunity, be proactive in your studying. Don't build up to it, just try and make things happen. You want to make a change, try your best to just do it. Google how to do something if you want to know how to do it, and try it out. You want to make a friend, approach them. I remember thinking, Varya seems really cool. I'm going to walk up to her and say hi. And that is most of the reason why we're friends. Because I was like, hey, I think your jacket is really cool. Nice speech. What are you up to? How's your life? What is your name?
I swear Haiders really adopted me as his friend. I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, he just walked up to me and he was like, we're friends now. And I was like, well, I don't have that many friends yet anyway, so we might as well. But like, I mean, honestly,
when I saw someone I didn't recognize, I'd be like, hey, I don't think we've met before. I'm Haiders. What's your name? Now, the thing is, because I've given hella speeches, it was know my name, but I don't want to be like, hey, it's me. You know me, the well-being rep. I just gave it.
But yeah, it's totally fine to like walk up to people and be like, hey, have we met? And then there's a really, Haiders, are you going to expose your trick how to check if you don't know someone's name? I feel like you should.
Haiders, we want to know.
Ooh, I feel like I can't remember what you're talking about.
Oh wait, I'm gonna expose Haiders now. Sorry, Haiders. I love you.
You have them on social media. You have to add them on Instagram.
Haiders' best trick that he told me.
And you don't mention their name, and you be like, hey, do I follow you on Instagram? Oh, could you put it in? And then they'll type in their Instagram, you'll have their name. Or you could do Facebook, because Facebook's a bit more reliable if you don't have like the full name. But generally, add them on social media at the end of the conversation, and you'll have their name. And you'll have a picture with their name, so you'll never forget it again. But no, the amount of time I did that, especially after freshers, because freshers, I
remember like, what you did. You what was it? You like we had a chat at like the like fresher thing, where you were like, do you think it would be difficult to like meet everyone in the year? And I was like, sure. And then you didn't listen to a single word I said. And you were like it shouldn't be that hard, right? It's just one person like every 10 seconds. That's easy. And then the next day was like mums and dads. And everyone
mums and dads. I went row by row and memorized names.
So funny.
I said, hi, what's your name? I'm memorizing the names of everyone in the lecture.
If you look at the freshers Insta for the SU,
you can see me.
I can see you just like reaching over.
Yeah, it's funny because like I remember some people were like in the lower rows before the event started, so they saw me do the thing where I was like, yeah, no, I can name all 40 of those people unless they switch seats, in which case I've forgotten them because I'd memorized it as a list. But then I remembered a lot of people, but the problem with that was then because that was obviously more of a memory game than anything, like a glorified Simon Says game. The next week, like 30 people thought I knew their names and I did not. Like, hey, Haiders, and I'm like, hey, dude, bro. And that's when the whole adding social media thing happened. But yeah, no, there was a lot of time where I was like, people were like, hey, you still remember my name? And I'm like, I don't remember meeting you, full stop. But it's fine. But still, no. Do it honestly. Just go for it. Take every opportunity. Like just basically just do the thing. Just do everything. Join the society.
I feel like because we have 2 like inspirational lessons now, so I'm gonna add a third one because one time I only had 2 arguments, and James Small said you sound more convincing if you have 3 points. And like that really spoke to me. So now we had like chill out and don't worry. Second point was just do the thing, like do everything you want to do. And then third point, which is kind of like similar to the other two, but I feel like it completes the set, is what I learned in med school. You don't necessarily have to do anything well. Like it matters more that you're doing the stuff. I don't know if you guys had the same experience, but a lot of the time I would like be worried to take an opportunity or like do something or like stress out about studying because I felt like I didn't know how to do something well. And like then I realized it's more about just doing the thing and you don't have to do it that well. Like in the end, like Ryan is a really great friend to have because no matter what you do, he will be like, oh my god, that's amazing. So like every time I tell you about any project I'm doing, you're like, wow, that's so great. Like, no matter if I'm doing like really badly. So like, you know, I sometimes when I'm doing something, I just have to imagine a Rayyan telling me this is like the best project ever. But like genuinely, you don't have to do well. You can join a research paper not knowing what you're doing. You can like join societies even if you've never done jiu-jitsu before, and they will actually not beat you up that much. I'm just kidding. Like, yeah, that's the third lesson. I don't know.
I'll add two that I like have learned a while. One, I guess, is kind of the same as your third point, which is just fake it till you make it is the ultimate strategy to everything. Like no one thinks that much about like what other people are doing other than like the surface. So as long as something appears like you're like a genius or anything, it will come across like that and everyone will just trust you. Like for us three are good examples. So we were all reps last year. I guess for you two it's slightly different. I like didn't do any work for most of last year, and yet for some strange reason most people thought I was some genius, you know, the entire course. I like people would ask questions like and DM me, and then I would quickly Google that and then copy paste the first like the Google result back to them. I like I don't know most of year one. I've forgotten all of it because I binged it. I crammed it before exams over Easter. And yet people still think like I know the course and I'm smart. I have no idea how. It's just that it like appears like I do. Like you can do so many things and sound like you know what you're talking about and people will just inherently trust you. And then like I second the like one about just get stuff done and then you can like they'll get better over time. Like the SU website, objectively, when it first came out, was kind of buggy. It was messed up. It didn't even have the right website name. It was like XYZ instead of com because I didn't even like understand enough of like server infrastructure to like get it right. And I just kept breaking it. And I was like, fuck it, leave it for later. I don't care anymore. But that's fine because you can just fix stuff later. And like, it took me till December to fix it, but I fixed it at some point. And you can basically approach most things like that. Like the entire course itself is the same thing. Watch every lecture once, kind of get the gist, and then you can watch it back again later and you'll get like a better understanding of stuff. Same goes for most things. Another thing, sorry, go on.
Sorry, go ahead.
Another thing I'd say is that because again, I treat like, it's weird because I'm like in stuff like MedEd and MM and the SE, which people would assume is central, but I'm quite external to a lot of stuff. Like I'm not that involved in ICSM as a community really. And what I've noticed is that ICSM, like along with any other community, is quite a bubble. So you get like people who will like avoid doing stuff because there are other people going for it, or they don't feel like they're good enough and they're like, well, someone else would be better at it, or I don't know how other people, like what other people would think of me doing this thing. Stop giving a shit.
Let me tell you. So how I ran for the SU, right?
Yeah, oh my god, it's the funniest story.
So I don't know if you guys know, but there's like a couple rounds of elections going on like each year at Imperial, and like the big roles are elected in the leadership elections, which take place in March, and that's where all the union roles go and like some society leadership roles, etc. There's also like summer elections and autumn elections, but like it depends on the timing. So basically that was during the leadership elections, which take place in March. And I actually had a friend over from Norway who like was visiting because that was allowed because there wasn't COVID. It was really nice. But the important thing is we like had like a chill night and it was a lot of fun. until I had a concussion. So I concussed my head really seriously. I had to go to A&E and stuff, and like it was a whole mess. Like my friends were taking me with a hat. It was really crazy. But basically, the A&E was like, you can't think or do anything for 2 weeks. So I only needed to like lie in bed, and I wasn't allowed to think because it could like leave me with consequences. Yeah, no. They literally said you're not allowed to think. You can't watch Netflix. You can't go to uni. You just have to lie down and not do anything for like 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. Like, you know, whatever. But like the problem was that the elections deadline was coming up. So I had to run for things, but I was not allowed to think about what I wanted to run for. I knew I had plans to like run for stuff, but I wasn't allowed to think about it. So I just ended up running for like 15 roles, among which was the SU like academic officer, even though I wasn't even sure whether I can do that role. So I just like
keep in mind, this is a year 1 student who hasn't done any of year 2 anyway.
So I was like, oh yeah, I can like I can totally think about this later. I was also on painkillers, and like I was just like completely smashed out for like a brain injury and like drugs, literally lying in my bed, like clicking on stuff and running for things.
I went into Woodward and I went up the elevator, and you were just like, I think you were doing something on the ground floor, and you went in the same elevator, and you were like, oh, I'm gonna run for it. And I was like, I don't know if that's a good idea. You haven't done any of year 2. Like, do you think that's like wise? And I don't think you like were stringing together complete sentences.
I was just like, so like, and then like I ended up getting the role because like the reason why I ran for it was because there was like no other person that was actually doing our course running. But like I wouldn't have dared running if I hadn't had that like whole I'm really high and I don't know what I'm doing situation. I was just running for things. I ran for like 10 euro rolls. That's a secret. I withdrew from them. You wouldn't see my name on the chart. But anyway, I was just like, you know what? This might be a good idea. I just winged it. And then like now, I like looking back, I can actually make so much of a difference being in this role because I actually know the course, because I actually get all of the teaching, and like I actually know what the new clinical exam is, and I need to organize a mock, and it just makes so much of a difference. And I'm so grateful, but like I never would have dared going for it. Like, and Rayyan was there like waving at me in Woodward, just like looking at me because I was so out of it. It was hilarious.
Like
but yeah.
the HI test, being like, is your brain working?
That's awesome.
Anyways, so that was a story time. You should run for things.
Yeah, in all fairness, the only reason I ran for the SU genuinely was like full stop. I looked at the SU website and was like, that's really shit. I could do a better job. There's this one TV show called like Diagnosis, which is this like the doctor who was the like main medical advisor for House MD. She like it's her on cases and stuff. And in the beginning, she says the only reason she went into medicine was because her dad went into A&E once, and the doctor there was so like just trash that as like a 10-year-old kid, she was like, I could do a better job than that. And that's the only reason why. It's like the exact same thing. I was just like, in 10 minutes, I could do a better job than that. And that's it. Like, there's no other reason like that you need. You don't need to big stuff up at all. Like, if you have even a slight reason, go for it.
At the same time, you don't actually need to know things. That's a secret. Sorry, I'll let you.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But like a secret about any role is there is like a person already doing that role, and when you start your role, they need to teach you how to do it. Yeah. Like there's a thing called the handover where they need to tell you what to do. So if like you're like, that sounds kind of interesting, but I have no idea how to do that, don't worry. There's literally someone that has to teach you. It's great.
Literally, all you need to do for any role is do enough research and just speak to the person who did it before you, enough to know what the role like is, have some ideas that you can put on like a thing you call a manifesto, be good enough at speaking, you can convince people you know what you're talking about, and that's it. Everything else will sort itself out for you.
I have to say, Varja, what you said is true, but not if you're running for president of the United States, because Donald Trump, I don't think is going to help Biden out, but yeah. Haider, were you going to say something?
Oh, sorry, you reminded me about the real world. It really freaked me out for a second.
Same. But I don't want to think about. Anyways,
but
sorry,
like in contrast to the real world, also a lot of these positions aren't super competitive. I think you guys might have a false image because 27 people ran for academic rep. But for example, between 0 and 2 people run for union president every year. And like usually it's like a lot of the bigger positions that like you might think it's really cool and you might really love to get involved in that if it's like a welfare position, academic position, something you really want to do. Chances are you'll be up against 0 to 1 other person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Me, Varya, and Ryan have got involved in things a lot more than the average med student. The average med student is not part of any committees. I think if you do like numbers average, like I think more than 50% of people aren't on any committees, and it won't be any detriment to them. Absolutely no future employer is going to give 2 shits about what society committee you're on, because you're going to be a doctor. They're not going to be like, but you know, she wrote an article for the Felix once, so but so you're basically doing these things for yourself. I think that's a great motivation to have. Like, you're doing these for your own enjoyment, for your own development, for your own interest, to help other people. So don't feel any pressure if you don't feel like doing any of these things. You can still have a really fulfilling, really brilliant uni experience separate from society. Different people have different things. Just remember, you don't have to live your best life the same way that me, Var, and Ryan do, which happens to be getting involved in societies and committees.
And for the record, like, let's say year 5, I don't plan to do anything at all in year 5 at all. Like,
it's a hard year.
For year, there are some people who do. There are people who like will do like the med co-chairs are insane. The amount of work they do, it's ridiculous. There's like 60 to 70 lectures a year that they all like manage each one. I don't know how. And there are other like chairs and stuff that do that. Like, at least for me, I don't want any of that. For year 5, it's just going to be like focus on medicine and nothing else. Just enjoy the process. And because I don't want to do anything in year 5, at least now that I'm like pushing stuff in year 1 and year 2 to get done, so I can look back and be like, I've had a fair share, and now I can focus on like the medical stuff. Some other people are doing it the other way around. Some other people will do stuff in year 3, 4, 5, and they'll enjoy year 1 and year 2. It's personal. Like,
there are a lot of ways to have a brilliant time in med school, and I think the main advice is just make sure you pick one. Have a good time. Don't leave with just a degree, but also don't feel like you have to try and be a Ryan, be a me, be a Varya, in order to be getting the most out of your med school. I know, like, some of my closest friends aren't on any committees. They just like go to events and stuff, and occasionally I think they like go out and whatever, go to like the many cafes there are in London. There are so many bougie cafes in London. Like, that's definitely a thing. Like, I don't know if we have a section on where to go in London, but it's all of the bougie cafes with like flowers and murals on the wall. But like, enjoy it and go out and do things, but don't feel pressure to do things you don't want to just because you think that's how other people are getting the most out of med school. Again, like,
I've had some other people talking about like they want to do stuff not because it's interesting or enjoyable, but because they feel like there's like an inner circle of like ICSM that are like doing important things that they want to get involved in.
There's no inner circle.
There isn't.
There's no inner circle.
I was asking her. I was like, what are you talking about?
Sorry, Ryan. There isn't.
No, like genuinely, like, don't like feel like your FOMO is a huge thing, but like don't feel like if you don't want to do something like at all, don't. Like, there's nothing.
I feel especially this year, like a lot of people like feel like they're missing out on their uni years or their freshers or whatever because you can't party. But like I'm sure that we'll all have the collective time to catch up on everything. And also a really good thing that I do want to mention, since we're talking about this stuff, is that like you might feel really overwhelmed during term time, but what you don't know at this point, and I do want to share, is that like your exams happen in May, and then from May till October, it's kind of like free real estate of like free time. Like, and I think it's worth looking forward to that, because like after the big exams, everything gets a lot more chill and you're able to do a lot more things. So even if you feel really overwhelmed like right now and you feel like you can't join stuff, just like obviously I said, get involved in stuff, but also don't get involved. Also, like, if you feel like it's a lot with lockdown, just there will be more time to do things as well. Like, don't
Yeah.
worry about it.
And at the end of the day, you are here for 6 years, and
Yeah.
while it's not like while a lot of people don't, you are still more than welcome and able to attend events all the way through to year 6. I know 5th and 6th years, well, mostly 5th year. I don't actually see. I've seen 1 or 2 6th years. They usually actually do have a lot more to do and doable. So you do
Oh my
have
god,
time to get
I'm
involved
going
in
to
it.
freshers next year. I don't even care.
Oh, but yeah.
Maybe SU. Maybe I'll just be vibing. I
I
don't
feel
know
like
yet.
we're gonna have approximately 1,000 people at freshers next year. Just like the 400
Because all of year
400
ones.
next year,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the 200 sad people from second year who just really want to relive. Oh gosh.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not even going to try and summarize everything you guys said because there was just so many great things. I'm probably going to rewatch this just to let some of that sink in for me. So yeah. Right. First of all, I'm going to ask you one more question, but it's a really simple one. So it's going to be what TV show have you really enjoyed watching over the last year? Before you answer that, I'm going to say quickly thank you for all 3 of you because it's like this has become like a Joe Rogan like podcast. Like I feel like we've been here for like 2-3 hours. I'm literally going to watch this again. And for anyone that's not like in our medics family, if you watch this, this is how they're like all the time. They're always helpful. And literally the minute I asked them, they all replied like within a day. And here we are for like 2 hours doing it. And am I okay in saying if anyone wants to join, they can contact you guys if they want to join?
Always.
If anyone wants to join
Always.
our medic family, our goal is to have
You
like
know,
our goal is to have a huge medic family, and also it's gonna be a family even after this year. So like if you want to get spammed from like the 3 of us and our lovely kids, they're all as great as Krish. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's
Really
amazing.
also,
Yeah,
one
just
day
drop
we will
us
have
an
a
email.
social. There will one day be a social. So like, the more the merrier once restrictions lift.
I mean, we already have a socials on Zoom where we try to come up with all the countries in the world as a team and stuff like that. But
That was fun. Oh, quiz night. We should do another one.
we should. Anyway, yeah, you can join. Sorry, we interrupted you again.
We're too excitable.
I was going to say, you guys know too many elements from the periodic table. I don't know if you know like so many, but yeah.
Don't count me in on that. I don't know any at all. Like,
Right. Okay. So, favorite TV show that you've seen in the last year or last 2 years? Go.
No, please narrow it down.
narrow it.
Last 2 years more than doubles the number of TV shows.
In the last year, favorite TV show you've seen in the last year that you've really.
Oh gosh, that includes Lockdown 1, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'll go first. So I'm gonna say I watched The Undoing on Sky Atlantic. So that stars Hugh Grant and Nicole Kidman, and it's really good. So yeah.
Oh my god, I know. So I don't really watch many shows. I'm not a watch shows type person. I don't know why, but it's because I think it's because my family never used to have like Netflix or whatever, so I never got like into the habits of it. But Haidar loves to watch shows. He loves shows. And he loves me. So he forced me to watch a show with him. And when I say forced, he literally said, we're watching this show then, and then I had to go. The show is called Sense8. It's really an amazing thing.
It was just an absolute lit like 3 weeks of like every couple of days. Varja would send the Zoom link, I would send the Netflix party link, and then we were like, let's go.
And then we just watched it. For the season finale, we actually booked a room in SAF to watch it on the big TV in SAF, in one of the G rooms. But yeah, I recommend Sense8, not just for Haider's great live commentary I was receiving the whole time, also in general. It's just a really good show. It only has 2 seasons as well, so it's not going to destroy your study schedule if you start watching it. But yeah, recommend.
Ryan, you're up first because I don't have a list of the shows I've seen, whereas I think you do, so you can narrow it down.
It's, as for me, like shows, like as much as I enjoy medicine, it is still like hard, like stressful. So for me, like shows I watch, it's weird because some games I play that are like quite challenging. Like I enjoy challenging games, but I enjoy them, but I don't like often watch a lot of like complex shows. Like most of my
I
TV
get that.
is pure guilt food and nothing more. Like the reason I watch so many K-dramas is because I can go in and I'll be like, yeah, I'll skip 7 episodes because it's just set up, and I'll go to episode 8 and I'll watch 2 people just fall in love with each other, and that's it, and I'll feel happy about myself, and I can go to sleep happy, and that's it. Like that's all I need. The issue is that every single K-drama is the exact same without fail. So I can't give you one because they're all like.
Surely that means it doesn't matter which one you pick. You can just pick the most recent one. Or one you've seen in full. Have you seen any in full? I guess you have.
I'll give you 2 because they're like slightly. I can't give you one. I can't. It's impossible. I literally cannot.
Ban him now.
I don't know how to. There's this one called W where it's like this junior doctor. Two worlds. Yeah. It's like they're not.
I'm turning down my volume. Okay, I can't hear you. You continue.
He's watching it.
Are you watching it now?
No, I'm gonna start it. You listed it. The 3 you recommended.
I don't know how much you want to spoil.
He turned the volume
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Okay, great. So basically, there's this like junior doctor who shows up, and like her dad is like a famous comic artist, and he's written this like 20-year long comic book series. And then he basically disappears one day, and then she goes into his office like looking for him, and then she like looks on his like comic, you know, the like Wacom tablets, like his drawing tablet, and it's like the main character like with it, he's got like a bullet in his chest and he's dying, and she's a cardiothoracic like surgeon, and out of nowhere she just like opens her eyes and she's in.
How long is her explanation going on for?
Wait.
Really interesting.
No, I'm listening to the story.
And she's like in the comic book world, and then she suddenly does like CPR and like does like rapid surgery and saves him. And then he opens his eyes, looks at her, and then she suddenly gets transported back to the real world. It's basically like a thing where like she keeps flitting back between the real world and the like comic book world. And every time she comes back, there's a new issue of the comic book that comes out and writes itself. And like the dad is still missing, but the comic book writes itself. So she goes to work, and her like the consultant on ward is like, I saw the new issue. Why are you in it? It's like, it's so cool. Other one is something called like While You Were Sleeping, which is like similarly sci-fi in that it's like this one girl, like all her life, she goes to sleep and all her dreams are of the future. So she keeps trying to save people's lives and she can't do it, and people keep dying and whatever. And then like something happens where she gets into an accident and she basically tries to kill herself. And then someone else, like who's like next door to her, also has like a dream about her in the future. Like that entire like 2 episodes worth of her like going through this mental health issue where she's about to kill herself, and then goes back to like the day the accident happens, and he like realizes he has to ram into her car to cause an accident so that the other accident doesn't happen. And it's just like it's like Umbrella Academy kind of, where like over time more people start having dreams about the future and they start meeting up and like figuring out how to save lives. It's amazing. Did I say 3? I can't give a third. I've spoken too long.
You said 2. It's over. You can come back, Haider.
I realized I could just mute the phone as opposed to just covering my ear, but I couldn't figure out how.
Welcome back. It's your turn for sure.
Oh God, the last year I've watched like Tiger King, as well as that's not my choice. Like The Good Place, Altered Carbon, all of these really solid shows. That I've watched in the last year.
What were you doing the whole time Rayyan was speaking? I swear that was like the perfect opportunity to think about your show.
Honestly, I don't know. I stopped thinking. I just freaked out.
I'm just kidding.
Okay. I've seen a lot of good shows in the past. Okay, in the last year. Okay, K-drama. It's okay to not be okay.
That one's
really
good too, yeah.
It's really good. Only because I think I don't think I watched any series from beginning to end in the last year, with the exception of like Tiger King. The rest I was watching Grey's Anatomy and House, and like other dramas, Supernatural. And there was something else I was watching. that was on YouTube. Oh, Worth It. Yeah, but that's not a series.
I
It's
think
okay to not be okay. It's a
Yeah.
K-drama with the it's a complicated premise. It's about a storybook writer who is suffering from psychopathy, so lack of emotions, or she's more of a sociopath, but it's complicated. She is really bad socially. She's very, very outwardly mean and aggressive to everyone, including children. She's a children's book writer, an award-winning one at that, but all of her stories have really, really dark themes.
I remember I was watching it and I couldn't take it seriously because there's this, like, episodes where they're trying to show she's mean, and it's just her like telling off children who've come to watch her read her own books.
Yeah,
It's
she's
so
really
funny.
mean to the children. And the other main characters are a caregiver who works at a psychiatric hospital and also cares for his older brother who suffers from from Asperger's, I think. Or for severe Asperger's.
I
or
think
just-
it's more severe than Asperger's.
Yeah,
But-
well, they call it mildish autism. He can function generally, but essentially it's about mental health and about how people interact with each other, about growth, and like I guess at points like growth, forgiveness. There's a bit of horror, a bit of mystery thrown in. There's a bit of like mysterious extra plots going on. Obviously, like it's a K-drama, so there's a main romance plot going through the middle. But it's a lot about like mental health and how you act with yourself, and how each of these people, while they're all very, very different people, one's a really mean but very successful storybook writer, one is an older brother who sacrificed everything, who's really kind, wants to do the right thing, and the other is just like suffering with his own mental illness and really dependent on his brother, and how all of these people grow and change in their own way. And it's interesting, like they all kind of like become more like each other in different ways. And even though my first instinct was she's awful, he's great, and he's struggling and kind of a bit of a burden on his brother, and he should be able to develop. And it's like you learn a bit about how like even though he might seem like a good guy, he's sacrificing way too much of himself, and you slowly start to see how it affects his character. And you also start to see why she is the way she is and how she has to work on that through her attitude, other people, and her attitude towards herself as well. It's just a really nice story about like, you know, mental health and development, and how like, you know, people in your life can really mess you up. So got a lot of interesting points about bad parenting as well.
Yeah, I remember that.
But also about how not only bad parenting, but also how children can perceive and interpret things in a way that they want, and how people interpret things in a way that suits their view of themselves. So someone might be like remembering certain aspects of how their mom treated them and forgetting other aspects because they believe they deserve to be treated in a certain way. And it was just a really, really beautifully done, like 16 episodes, a bit of crying, a bit of laughing, like some oh my god cute moments, some like
I mean,
that's really
I
creepy
say that
moment.
K-dramas are like the ultimate guilt food, but keep in mind this is the same country that made Parasite. Like some of their shit is like top tier. It's really well made.
Yeah, and also my favorite aspect of the show, two things. One, I think all K-dramas, they always have the latest Samsung phones, and they are like they're like crack for someone who really likes Android phones, because I'm so tempted to buy the latest Samsung phone every time I see one of these. She has a Samsung flip phone. It's like rose gold and it
I've
flips.
seen that.
She can like dramatically hang up the phone by flipping her foldable glass screen shut. That's cool. Second thing, that there's pizza which has like 20 toppings on it. Each slice has a different flavor on it, like, and there's a lot of topping, and it's just such a cool pizza, and it's a real pizza you can buy in a shop in Korea. And yeah, TV show recommendation. There you go.
Awesome. Right.
Wow.
Like Varja got like really emotional, and I was like, she's like really like drawn in by this story of mental health, and I'm like, but the pizza, that's what it's about.
Not gonna lie, you lost me for about a minute, like halfway through, but I caught back up. So it's all good.
It's something. It's quite something.
I didn't realize I needed to like promo my show. I just said a nice show. But anyway, that's fine. Like, I'm just gonna say my show is great as well. I'm just not gonna do a 5-minute speech about it. But if you want one, hit me up.
It's fine. I literally just said my show as well. I didn't send it at all. It's a really good show. Watch it. Okay,
Wow.
so we've had Rayyan, Varja, and Haider on this call today. It's been about medicine and I think life in general.
Very tangentially about medicine.
Totally.
We spoke a bit about medicine.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
but
we have no self-control. I apologize.
this has been the full and unedited version. It's
No,
gonna take too long to
no.
edit this. So I hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna put their Instagram profiles down below somewhere. They'll be in there. So if you want to join the Baby Medics family and get a bit more of a taste of these guys, and yeah, join. We've got like 21 kids already in the family, so
Do we? I didn't know that.
there's like 20 people in our group. So like
I don't know what, and I count them every once in a while. But you know.
I won't lie to you. Our immediate like aim, as soon as we decided we were going to do a family, it was just collect them like Pokemon cards. Never stop. Like,
Yeah, if you want to join, please do. Go ahead, Krish.
I feel like this whole podcast is like a sales pitch to join the family. Yeah.
Oh no, he's on to us, guys. You weren't made to say this.
Now the hashtag ad in like the name of the video.
Hashtag promo, hashtag baby medics. I didn't even know people perceived baby medics as our actual family name. I didn't know. I mean, it's kind of cute. I think it.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be Harvard, but we didn't end up with a parent whose name began with D, so have Harvard.
Diya. This is like shout out to Diya, whom I love, my great friend. We love you, Diya. Please join our family so our names will spell Harvard. Anyway, go ahead. Totally irrelevant.
No, literally, that's it. I'm just going to end by saying good luck to everyone going into second term. And yeah, we know that like it's lockdown, it's going to be hard. So if you've kind of followed through the whole way, then I hope you've gained some tips because I'm going to rewatch this as well. And yeah, and reach out to these guys because they're wonderful. Or even if you're in your own family, reach out to your medic parents. And yeah, we'll call it a day.
Thank you so
Literally,
much
the
for
only
having
thing I'm going to
us.
do is I'm going to cut it at the end. That everything else is staying in.
No, no, my parents will kill me for some of those. Okay, you got
No, they were great. They were great.
bro.
Just don't let your parents watch. Just kidding.
are you going to put this on Spotify?